All right, here we are in Lightroom. We are going to do a quick HDR demo here. So the first thing you're going to do is open up Lightroom. You will navigate here. So I'm going to say folders. I want to add my pictures to Lightroom. So I'm going to go to where it says folders here. I want to make sure it says library. Remember, library and develop are the two tabs we're going to use. We're going to start with library. Find the folders here, and I'm just going to click the plus, and I'm going to add a folder. All right, here I'm going to navigate to my desktop. I'm going to find my folder. Here's my folder of raw images that I have. And I'm going to say choose. So here we go. Here's some images that I'm going to use. And in this box, I have all of my files, but I'm going to take these two out, and I'm just going to use this. This is my overexposure, my middle exposure, and my underexposure. I have them checked at the top here, 3 check marks, and I'm going to click import. So here we go. So when I look in folders, here's my raw images, and in that raw images, I have these 3 images. So I'm all set to go. So the next tab I'm going to do is I'm going to go to develop. All right, here in develop, remember, by clicking on an individual image here, I can work on the settings here. I'm going to close basic for a second. These are all the different settings that I have. I can also hide this with a little arrow there, and if I use the arrow keys on my keyboard, I can navigate through each individual picture. So I'm going to start with my darkest picture here because I'm going to try to work on just the windows here. Remember, I'm not going to worry about any of the background or anything else. I'm just going to focus on one zone. And this zone that I'm going to focus on are the windows here. All right, so the first thing I do is I go to Basic, bring down Basic. I come down to, I skip all these other ones here. I'm going to skip down to Highlights, and I'm going to turn my highlights all the way to the left and my shadows all the way to the right. And what I'm doing is I'm sort of flattening out somewhat my histogram here, remember? So highlights, I'm saying take all the high parts out of my highlights and take all the lows out of my shadows. Then for the black point, what you're going to do is you're going to hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and then click on the whites here, and I'm going to go forward, dragging forward until white starts to appear here. All right, and then I'm going to go backwards just until that disappears. So there's no more color left. So that's my white point. I'm going to hold down the Alt key again, and then for the black, black, we don't want all that to disappear. I'm going to come back here and just until there's some colors, until I see a little bit of black inside my image, and then I'm going to let go. So that's my highs, my lows. And then clarity, I'm going to go up to like plus 40. All right, too much clarity will equal noise. So I'm going to say 39 is fine. So that's what I do for my basic. I shut down my basic. I'm going to go to, we can do tone curve next, which is fine. I'm going to say, let's do medium contrast. I think it's good if you look out this window. It adds just a little bit of a nice dark rich color there. And I'm not going to worry about this background part. So I'm going to close up tone curve. I'm going to go to HSL. I'm going to ignore hue, but I'm just going to do my saturation luminance. Remember, saturation brings up the colors a little bit. So I'm going to say blue. Look at that blue. And I'm going to bring up a little aqua as well. And I don't want those to be too dark. So I'm going to go to luminance, and I'm going to bring in just a little bit of lightness to that blue too, and a little bit of lightness to the aqua color as well. Now the buildings are sort of a brownish color if you want to work with those, but I'm just mainly going to focus on the sky here. So I'm going to shut that down. So that's all that I do with that. I'm going to go to detail. I'm going to click on detail, and I'm going to say amount of sharpening. I'm going to put in the 70 somewhere. I'm going to say 74. And then for luminance, I'm going to bring this up to like the 30s, just below 40. So I'm going to say like 36. And what that is going to do is it's going to sharpen my detail, but then smooth out that noise that's back there. And then I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to go to my lens correction is the next thing I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my profile, and I'm going to say enable profile correction. So I'm going to click on that. Now remember, your lens profile is not selected, so I'm going to say Canon. That is my brand. And by doing that, you just saw that the picture changed a little bit, and it sort of flattened it out and straightened it so that it's not all warped and wiggly. And you can see here it shows the 18 to 55 millimeter lens, which is what we have. So that's actually great news. And then anything else is, personal taste if you want to adjust things here and there. But you can see here that we've adjusted just for the particular windows here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to either arrow left and right to my next picture. So here I can see. Or I can come down to my window here, and I can select the next picture. And I'm going to move it to the next zone. So now I'm going to look at this brightest picture. I'm going to look at, for just this side here on the right, a little bit of the ceiling and maybe a little bit of the chairs. We'll see how it turns out. So again, I go to Basic. I go to Highlights all the way down. I go Shadows all the way up. I hold down my Alt key, and I click on Whites. And I go to the right or left here just until that color disappears. So here I'm almost at the end. I'm going to click on the black point. I'm going to go backwards until I see just a little bit of black in here, and I'm going to let go. So here, that black point's maybe a little bit low, so I'm going to bring that up here a little bit. So I don't want this picture to be too dark. Here we go. So I don't want there to be too much black in there. Bring up my clarity. Well, I had 39 before, so 36 is fine. It doesn't need to be exact. Shut that down. Tone curve, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say medium contrast. Again, if you want to adjust these buttons on your own, you can even see here where it sort of zones it, shows you where it's going to go. You can bend that. I'm just going to use medium contrast. I think it's fine. I'm going to go to my color. I'm going to boost my colors here. So again, saturation. I'm going to bring up the red a little bit. Maybe some of the magentas. You can fool around to get the right colors in there. Luminance, let's brighten up that red a little bit as well. Perfect. Shut that down. Detail, I'm going to go to like in the 70s here, so like 72 for sharpening. Luminance, oops, I'm going to bring the luminance over to, actually, oops, like 36 is okay. So I sort of brighten that picture up just a little bit. Close that down. Then I'm going to go down to lens correction. I'm going to enable my profile. I'm going to go here and select Canon. Boom, there we go. It's straightened it out again. All right, remember, if you get stuck or you get lost here, you can always go to reset. This will reset the entire picture back to its original setting. Also here on the right, if I open up this window, history here has made a list of everything that I've done, so I can go back to a certain point in time. All right, so then the last one, I'll just do this one really quick. So let's go back up to the top here, basic. Oops, there we go. I'm going to go highlights down, shadows up. Or alt-click my white balance, bring it over to the right. Alt-click my black levels. That looks pretty good. Clarity. I'm going to do 37. Shut that down. Tone curve, I'm going to say medium. And this is for the walls and this area here. So what I might do is I want these to be a little bit brighter. So actually I'm going to go back real quick to basic. And I might actually bring up my exposure just a little bit in case I want this middle part in here. All right, and then from there, I'm going to go to my color. So I'm going to say saturation. There's really not much color in here other than just the red, so I'm going to bring up the reds a little bit. Maybe a tiny bit of the magenta. Luminance, let's brighten up that red again. Okay, close that down. Go to detail. Bring this into the 70s here, so I'm going to say 73. I'm going to say the luminance of my noise reduction. I'm going to say 37. Close that down, and then finally lens correction. Enable, none to Canon. Perfect. All right, so here we go. So then the last thing we need to do is get this into Photoshop. So now I'm going to select the first picture, hold down my Shift key, select the last picture, right-click, edit in, and then open layers in Photoshop. So I just let it go for a second. It's going to take a minute to process it. It should automatically open up Photoshop. There we go. And then it's going to load them into one file. Remember, when you save this, you're going to go to Save As, and you're going to save it as a Photoshop document. You do not want to save it as a JPEG or as a TIFF or anything like that because it will squish your image flat, and you want to be able to use the layers here. So you can see it's a bigger file, so it's taking an extra minute or two. Almost there. There we go. Processing, processing. There we go. Reading camera raw. Almost there. See my little wheel spinning there. And there we go. So here we go. I got my 3 layers. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3 layers in here. Then I'm just going to say File. I'm going to say Save As. I'm going to save it as a Photoshop document right here. Give it a new title, HDR layers, and I'm going to save it on my desktop. All right, that's all you got to do, and then look for part 2 when we start to put these together in Photoshop.